Hello. Hi. Welcome to the Abundant Wellness Podcast. It's almost time for us to meet. I'm going to wait just a few more seconds for those that are joining. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Okay, it is at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, but I just want to welcome you all here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me today. I just want to make sure I am connected. Yes. And this is another episode of the Abundant Wellness Podcast. And I'm so glad that you are taking the time to visit with me, chat with me, listen to me, and just even learn a little bit about your body and how you can feel better or get better. So I just want to thank you for being here again. You are welcome to engage in the conversation. Feel free to put your comments in the chat, or you might want to talk to me later privately, but whatever works for you. So without any further ado, we waited a little bit, gave people a chance to get here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now, in the event that you don't get to listen to all of this or you are a little late coming, this is recorded and you can always go back and listen to the recording. And it's usually up and available pretty soon, pretty much not too much longer after we complete the actual presentation. So feel free to go back and listen, re-listen, and see what you can get out of it. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, there we go. Again, welcome to the Abundant Wellness Podcast. Abundant Wellness meets every second and fourth Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you only remember 3 p.m., but you don't remember the time zone, remember that I am in Texas, the entire state of Texas. We are in the same time zone, even though we're such a big state. Central Standard Time at 3 p.m. My name is Joanne McDermott. I am a board certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner, and I am also a mental health coach. So what is an FNLP? Was what we like to call it sometimes. I help people to reverse chronic illness or manage it, minimize it, reverse it altogether. Chronic illness, anywhere from cancer to diabetes to even struggling with losing weight. Now there is a diagnosis, obesity. Well, I help people to reverse that, eliminate that by finding what the underlying root cause is. What is causing it? Getting to that, addressing that, and then using diet and lifestyle to help improve your health. I incorporate a little bit of mental health coaching inside of there because we are holistic individuals. What affects us mentally will affect us spiritually as well as emotionally, mentally, and vice versa. When we are affected mentally, it's going to affect our health. So I am tapping into all three legs of this stool: mental, physical, and spiritual, but Bible-based spiritual. I'm tapping into all three of those to help to determine what that underlying root cause is, address it through diet and lifestyle to help you get better. These will implement improvements and changes that are sustainable, that will last. I have to throw out my disclaimer here because I want you all to know that if you are seeing a practitioner, whether it's a nurse practitioner, a doctor, or whoever it is that you're seeing, you want to continue seeing them. My goal here is not to replace them. The information provided is intended to promote overall well-being and is not a substitute for personalized professional care. Viewers are encouraged to be empowered by learning how the body functions, allowing them to take an active role in their own health goals and decisions. You know how you feel better than anyone can imagine. You know what your symptoms are. You know what's out of sorts. And so, and you know how long you've been dealing with this. And so by just getting a little bit better understanding of how your body works, how things work, helps you to know what's normal, what's not. And you may even be able to just help yourself. I believe definitely for sure you should be a part of your health care. You should be part of that team in determining what is best for you because it's your body. You should have the right to decide. So today and for the month of July, we're going to be talking about rest, energy, and vitality. Today we're doing part 1, and in another 2 weeks we'll be doing part 2. Rest, energy, and vitality. So, do any of you here struggle with vitality, struggle with having enough energy? You know, when we get up in the morning, we should be feeling like this. Or do I need to ask, wouldn't it feel nice to get up out of bed and feel like this every single morning? Do any of you feel like just jumping up, excuse me, and ready to start your day? Or is it a little bit of the opposite? Are you just dragging? And even after getting up and getting dressed, okay, now you've been up for at least a good half hour, you're still not completely awake yet. You're still kind of like half zombie. Or maybe there's some of you that feel like, okay, I gotta have that coffee in the morning. And if you don't have that coffee in the morning, you will not feel like you are ready to handle the day. Still feeling a little bit tired. You know, we should not be feeling like that. We should feel very much awake and full of energy and full of vitality and just ready to take on the day. And we should feel that way without having to drink that cup of coffee. So why are you not feeling that way? Why are we not feeling that way? Well, there's many reasons. We're going to go through some of them, and then we're going to talk about what we can do so that we can eliminate, what may be the problem that's going on. Now, I don't know exactly what may be happening with you. I'm going to name a few things, but sometimes it takes a little bit more deep diving. But let's see. Let me share with you what I have right now. Perhaps by implementing some of those things or making some changes, that will be enough. And you will feel that vitality. But I do want to remind you and emphasize, you should be feeling full of energy and fully ready to take on the day without having to take any kind of caffeine to get you started. Now, there are some people out there that suffer from a condition called fibromyalgia. And what is fibromyalgia? It is considered a chronic condition. One of the main characteristics of it is that the individual feels an overwhelming feeling of being tired. Excuse me. So just very fatigued. Just like, I'm just tired. I just don't feel like doing anything. I just feel almost like a brain fog too. I just can't think. I can't focus. I can't concentrate. Not only my body is tired, but my brain is tired. But it's more than that. It's a widespread pain throughout the body or multiple areas of the body. Pain is often felt in the arms, in the legs, in the head, chest, abdomen, the back, the buttocks. People often describe it as aching or burning or throbbing. So there's just this pain that is all over the body. Maybe even some stiffness and, sensitivity, issues with your bowels as well. Now, this is a condition that, as of late, many individuals would describe, these symptoms. They'd go to the doctor and they would do all these tests, drawing the blood, maybe some scans, some sort, and they weren't really able to find a specific diagnosis for it. So sometimes fibromyalgia gets diagnosed as a, okay, we've eliminated everything and not showing, clear signs or symptoms of this particular condition or that particular condition. So you fall under the, well, we're going to call it fibromyalgia. It was something that did not exist before, or, maybe it did, but we couldn't really pinpoint it. And then if it shows up enough times, then finally there's a name given to it. But it is a fairly common condition, I can say today. And it's just, it's not fun. It's kind of miserable. It's not only feeling fatigue, but it's also feeling these aches and pains. And what causes that? That could be a number of things, but I would say for sure, my guess would be the diet. The diet more than anything. There could be some kind of reaction that the body is having, to certain foods. So it could be fibromyalgia, that you have. Now, of course, again, I'm not going to diagnose you, but that might be something you may want to ask your doctor if everything has been ruled out. Now, sometimes we just feel this general tiredness throughout the day. So you might not necessarily feel aches and pains, and you may not feel like this overwhelming fatigue, but you do find yourself just feeling sleepy while you're at work, and maybe halfway through the morning or after lunch, you just feel like, I need to take a nap. Especially perhaps around times when you are at a meeting and you are listening to a lecture, and the lecture is 30 minutes or longer, and you are just fighting sleep. You are not being able to help yourself, and no matter how hard you try to keep those eyes open, and you feel like, more than anything, I just want to put my head down, and you can't because you're in the meeting, you're amongst other people, and that's just going to look kind of weird. So is this happening to you on a regular basis? Is this happening to you every day? This should not happen. You should be revived and refreshed and be able to carry out until the sun starts to set. So why does this happen? Well, it could be your diet. There are certain foods that are particularly high in iron. So maybe your iron is low. Maybe you need to increase your iron intake. Iron is a mineral that helps us to not feel tired and helps us to have energy. And I'll explain a little bit more of that later. It has to do with iron, is within our blood, specifically the red blood cells and the hemoglobin. And that particular red blood cell helps to carry oxygen to the different parts of our organs, different parts of our body. And just having that oxygen in our system helps us to have energy and feel energy, because our body, down to the cellular level, it uses oxygen and glucose. They combine together and it produces energy. The cells go through this whole process. They produce energy so that we are able to function. We are able to not feel tired. So perhaps your diet may need a little bit more iron. Maybe your iron is a little bit low. Low iron for sure will cause that tiredness and that fatigueness. These are examples of some foods that are high in iron. Of course, there's your spinach, there's your blackstrap molasses, there's lentils. Now, I have to say a little side note here. Although these are all good foods, there are some people that cannot do the iron. There's some people that can't do the spinach. For example, those individuals that are struggling with kidney issues, particularly kidney stones, and spinach is a food that's high in oxalates. And sometimes it's the oxalates that's causing the kidney stones. There's different things that cause kidney stones, but for some people it's the high oxalates, and spinach has high oxalates in it. And so they are not able to do that spinach. But you know what? Spinach is a good food. And that's why it's important and it's very helpful for you to be part of your own healthcare, because you know what foods are going to make you feel good or make you feel worse. And just because a food is healthy, it doesn't mean that it's healthy for you or it's helpful for you. I mean, it's always healthy, but it may not be helpful for you. The disadvantages or the harmfulness of it outweigh the benefits. So you may not be able to take that. Now, blackstrap molasses, this is a type of sugar, but more of a natural sugar, as opposed to that white refined sugar. And blackstrap specifically is very high in iron. I took blackstrap molasses when I was pregnant because my iron would just go down low, which happens sometimes. I was struggling to keep it up, and so it was suggested to me, oh, just take a little bit of blackstrap molasses, and I did. And then you know what happened? By the end of my pregnancy, so maybe the last month, I would say, to 2 weeks before my due date, do you know what happened? I developed gestational diabetes. And so the next pregnancy I stayed clear away from the blackstrap molasses. Even though it was going to help get my iron up, I had to just find different ways. And I did not get the gestational diabetes. So everybody is different, and what's good for one is not necessarily going to be good for another. So again, that's why it's good for you to be a part of your own healthcare. And I know when I deal with my clients, I'm always treating everybody on an individual basis. Protocols is only like a beginning, a guideline, a place to start, but then everything has to be, your treatment plan has to be fine-tuned. So again, sometimes our iron is, we have this fatigue, our energy is down because we might not be getting enough of the iron foods that are high in iron in our system. There is also vitamin B12. Maybe your vitamin B12 is low. Maybe your diet is not making room for vitamin B12 to get into your system. Let's take a look at some of the foods that are high in vitamin B12. That would be seaweed. So over to the left there, over to the right, that is just seaweed. We see those kind of cuisines in your Asian stores, I think mainly your Chinese stores. And then over to the left is something called nutritional yeast. It's kind of weird. Reminds me of fish food. It's not fish food, it's people food. And a lot of vegetarians or vegans use that when they are making like a cheese substitute, because it does kind of have that cheesy flavor to it, with other seasonings as well. Now, a lot of cereals and, certain other foods are fortified, meaning they're added with vitamin B12. So that's just another way in which we can get it. And when a person's vitamin B12 is low, that can most certainly contribute to a very tired feeling, fatigue feeling. So we want to keep a lookout on that. Anything that you buy, you can just go back and look at the ingredients and see if it has any B12 in it, because we definitely want to be getting B12 into our diet, especially if you're vegetarian or vegan, because vitamin B12 is often found in your animal-based foods, your cow, and that is because the animal itself, just based on what they consume, their body produces that, or they have that vitamin B12 in them. And so now when you eat that beef, cow meat or chicken or whatever it is, you're getting the vitamin B12 that was already inside the animal. But this is one way in which we can get it ourselves. Again, to that individual that is vegan or vegetarian, they don't do any plant-based, they don't do any animal products, is you're getting a glass of water, you're putting a little bit in your mouth, and you're just swishing it around in your mouth, and then you drink it. Now, there's a little trick to it though. You absolutely want to do that first thing in the morning before you eat anything, but especially before you even brush your teeth. And now You want to be brushing your teeth at night. You brush your teeth after your last meal, you brush your teeth, you go to bed, you sleep. And then when you get up in the morning, you want to, before you eat anything, drink anything, you want to be taking that little bit of water, swishing it in your mouth, and then swallowing it. And that allows some vitamin B12 to actually get into our system. So a good little tip there. Something to try out, think about, especially if you are vegetarian and especially if you are vegan. Now, I had mentioned about eating these foods that have iron in it, that have vitamin B12 in it. It's all good. You know, if you do that, you increase that. I talked about the spinach, the blackstrap molasses, but it's important to realize and to remember that if your absorption of these very foods that you are taking in is not good or is not working or is not optimal, I don't care how much lentils you eat, your iron is still going to be down. I've actually seen and experienced that. This individual, their stomach, their iron levels were just so low, and they were desperately trying to get it high, and they were told, eat this, eat that, eat this, and oh, lentils, very high in iron. And they ate lentils and lentils and ate more lentils until it was coming out of their ears. And then they developed an allergy toward the lentils because they were eating so much of it. It was too much. And after all that was happening, that they were doing, their iron still was low. They were still struggling with very low iron. And it could very well have been because they were taking it in, but the body was not producing it. The body was not absorbing it. So in the stomach, in the lining of the stomach, excuse me, it secretes a certain chemical, that mixes with the vitamin B12, I believe it is, with the vitamin B12, and allows it to be absorbed, into the body. So if it's called the intrinsic factor, and if that substance is not produced, is not combined with the iron, with the vitamin B12, or if it's not produced, if the stomach is not producing enough of it, your body is not going to be able to prepare that vitamin B12 so that your body is able to absorb it. Same thing happens with iron, except with iron, it happens more in the small intestines. It combines and it mixes with another substance that comes from the small intestines. And if that combining it does not happen, then you are not going to absorb any iron. So we really want to ensure that the integrity of the stomach as well as the integrity of the small intestines is really up to par. It's really good. It's healthy. Otherwise, there's no infection going on in there. The gut flora, the balance of the good and bad bacteria is exactly where it should be. So basically, the integrity of these organs are really up to par, because if not, it's not going to be functioning properly. It's not going to be doing what it's supposed to. And then if that's not working properly, it definitely is going to affect the ability of your body to absorb. And you could be eating really good, but your body's not absorbing it. It's going to go through you. You are not going to get the nutrients. You're not going to get that iron. You're not going to get that vitamin B12. And you are going to feel tired. You're still going to feel tired. So just a couple of tips here on how do you build up the integrity of that stomach, of the small intestines, and even the large intestine. These are a couple of items here. Slippery elm bark, that is a supplement, or marshmallow root. It's a supplement. You could also take it in the form of a tea, but also just sauerkraut. If you didn't want to take a supplement, you could just, the foods that are very good for that is cabbage. You can eat the raw cabbage. You can, sometimes cabbage is made like in a coleslaw, or you can, better yet would even be the sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is a pickled cabbage, and when it's pickled, it's actually fermented, and that fermentation, it has some good healthy bacteria in there. And that is a food that can help to build the integrity of your intestines and also your stomach. Make sure it's good and healthy so it's able to produce and secrete what it needs to help break down that iron and that vitamin B12 so that you are absorbing it. You're actually getting it inside your system and hopefully not feel tired anymore. You know, another reason why we feel tired could be because we might have a mild sensitivity or intolerance to gluten. There are certain people that are diagnosed with a gluten intolerance. It's called celiac disease. They cannot eat any gluten at all. And it just means that their body is not able to break it down. It's not able to digest it. And sometimes when we eat foods that we cannot break down and digest, we will start to have stomach pain or stomach discomfort every time we eat that particular food. That would be a red flag. You know, take a note there. Does it happen every time I eat this? So your wheat is going to, your gluten is in every wheat. Actually, it's in anything that contains flour in it, unless it says gluten-free or you know that it's made out of corn, like a corn tortilla, as opposed to a flour tortilla. So anything that has flour in it is going to have your wheat or going to have your gluten in it. And this in and of itself can cause fatigue. I remember one point when I was always eating pretty healthy, you know, for the most part, and I would find that after I completed my lunch, I would feel so tired. And I would always wonder, why am I feeling so tired? I have a healthy meal here. This is a healthy sandwich. I have all kinds of vegetables in it, and it was nothing processed. Why am I so tired? I didn't get it. And then I decided to start eliminating the gluten. I would have my salad without any bread or without any breadcrumbs. Or just tried maybe like the corn chips instead of instead of a flatbread or something like that. And I definitely did feel an improvement. And, after removing the gluten from my diet, and I didn't have that overwhelming fatigue, after I ate. But it's not only the gluten that can cause us to feel tired after we eat, feeling like we need that nap after lunch. It could be because we've eaten a food that is high in sugar or high in carbohydrates, a high carb or high sugary food. Now, when we eat carbohydrates, especially those refined carbohydrates, so that's going to be like anything that's like a white flour, because they took away all the bran. They basically took away all the fiber in there. So that high carb, when we eat the carbs, it breaks down into smaller particles. It becomes sugar, breaks down into glucose. So whether it's the carb, that's sugar, or the straight sugar, it goes into our bloodstream very, very quickly. And so we have this sudden rise in blood sugar levels. And so that that will give us like a quick energy, but it doesn't last. It's not long sustaining. And within a very short period of time, the blood sugar comes crashing down. I explain a little bit further more about that in another episode where I kind of talk about, I don't remember what the topic is that I talked about there. I'll have to put it in later and kind of pin it. But anyway, when we have our blood sugar that goes really high and then crashes down low, that in and of itself will make us feel tired. And it's just because the sugar is just going through our system so quickly. What helps it to go through our system a little bit slower is fiber. So that's why they say the whole foods are better to eat, because it is high in fiber. And it allows that sugar to enter into your bloodstream at a slower and a more steady rate, so you don't have this high increase and this crash down. So yeah, just a high carb, high sugary diet, that can be the culprit to you feeling tired all the time. Well, how about your breathing? What is your breathing like? You know, we tend to just do a lot of shallow breathing. We don't even notice it. We just kind of do that naturally. The only time we really are breathing deep is when we're out of breath. Even then, we may not necessarily be breathing deep, but we sometimes we may have to just be intentional about making sure that we are taking some deep breaths. So maybe if you're feeling a little bit tired, you had a long day, you've been working on that particular project or report for the last hour, you just stop for a minute, take a break, and practice some deep breathing. Deep breathing has many benefits, but one for sure is it's just deep breathing is going to encourage, more oxygen to get into your system. Why is that oxygen important? I mentioned earlier, it's because your body uses oxygen plus glucose to make energy. And once that energy is made, you're going to have energy. You're going to feel that energy and you're going to have energy. You're not going to feel so fatigued and tired. So maybe just taking some time to take in those deep breaths. But you know what also helps us to breathe nice and deep? Exercising. When there's two ways in knowing that you got yourself a really good workout. Number one is sweating. And number two is, okay, are you breathing deep? Are you breathing fast? Are you even kind of out of breath? The reason why we breathe deeper and faster when we're exercising is because our body realizes that, wow, she needs some energy here. She needs some help. Those muscles need energy because it's being worked, and it cannot work except it has that energy. And again, your body uses oxygen plus the glucose to create that energy so that your muscles are able to contract and your heart rate is able to keep up, with its beating. Well, it's beating faster because it wants to be able to circulate that oxygen to different parts of your body. So that's one of the reasons why exercise is so good and healthy for us. It improves our circulation and it helps to get oxygen, throughout the different parts of the body. And that right there too, having that good oxygen circulation is going to help you to not feel tired. So maybe you're feeling tired all the time because you haven't really incorporated exercise into your weekly routine or your daily routine. I mean, you don't have to do a whole lot every single day, but we definitely want to be moving. If you're at work, have you been sitting down for the last 4 hours, all morning? That is going to make you tired. So maybe just kind of take a break, get up and walk around a little bit. Then you can go back and sit down. We also want to make sure that we are not dehydrated. Do you know that our body is over 50% our blood, I should say, our blood is over 50% water. So the main ingredient in there, the foundation basis of the liquid, the fluid that's in our blood is water. And our bodies are really 70% water. So if you are not, again, our blood that circulates, through the veins, delivering oxygen, delivering nutrients, that circulation is not going to be up to par if there is not enough of the foundation or the basis of that fluid, which is water. If there's not enough water in our system, it's going to interfere with our body's ability to really circulate all those nutrients and vitamins and minerals and even oxygen to get to the different body parts, the organs, our minds, our muscles, our brain, to be able to give us that focus and vitality. Yes, we always want to ensure that we have good blood circulation because these red blood cells that are here, they carry the oxygen. Again, carrying it to the different parts of the body, our brain, our digestive system, the muscles in our legs. I was talking about exercise earlier. Exercise helps to improve our circulation. Our bodies, the heart will pump harder and faster because it sees that there's a need for oxygen. You know, this muscle is working hard and it needs that oxygen in order to continue to work hard like that. So it'll beat faster, and as a result of that faster beating, it also improves the circulation. So we want to also ensure that our blood circulation is good and well. Again, how well is your movement? Are you doing exercise? Are you getting up and walking and taking a break, after sitting for several hours? It's things like this that's going to improve your circulation, which ultimately is going to help you to not feel fatigued and tired. Some of us might be suffering from different types of chronic illnesses. Something called atherosclerosis, which is a plaque buildup in the veins. So in the picture there, okay, that's a vein, like a hollow tube, and it has your red blood cells in it. But you see that yellow that's inside there, that's plaque buildup. There's different reasons why that happens. Number one, our diet. And when that plaque buildup happens, it starts to hinder the flow of your blood, and your circulation is going to not be as good as it can be. So, again, when we're not having that good blood circulation, it's going to hinder the nutrients, the oxygen from getting to where it needs to get, and you are going to feel tired. But what else may be causing the fatigue? What about your thyroid gland? There's a lot of us, especially women, that suffer from a condition called hypothyroidism. So that means your body is not producing enough thyroid hormone. When a person is hypothyroid, everything seems to slow down. The metabolism slows down, and such individuals will struggle with losing weight. They're eating good, they're hardly eating anything, but they're still struggling to lose the weight. And it's just because the metabolism slows down. There's different things that cause that. There is a condition called Hashimoto's. That is a type of hypothyroidism. Again, I'm not diagnosing here. I don't know if you have that or not, but just kind of throwing it out there. That's something that is very common. And that also, hypothyroidism causes a person to feel tired and fatigued. Everything just kind of slows down, and you even feel like you need to slow down because you just don't have the energy. You don't have that vitality, and that is something that you might want to have checked out or looked into further. And, I'd be glad to talk to you more about that as well. Another reason why we might feel just really, really, really tired is because we are experiencing some adrenal fatigue. Adrenal fatigue goes with stress. Now, there is a certain amount of stress that we experience every day, and just life in general. There's just things to be stressed about. Stress is not something that we can avoid. But, sometimes stress can be helpful, but, obviously when it's too high, too much, too consistent, too chronic, it's not good for us. It can lead to something called adrenal fatigue. So our adrenal glands is these little hats. These look like kidney beans, and it's actually our kidneys within our bodies. And on top of our kidneys is this hat, looks like a hat, and that is the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands are responsible for secreting a hormone called cortisol that gives us energy ultimately. Well, there's a little bit more of a sequence of events that happen. But the cortisol is what helps us to have that energy to be able to deal with the stressful or threatening or situation that's going to require a lot of focus and or It just requires a lot of energy. Excuse me. And when we have a consistently high stress environment or situation, after a while, our adrenal glands get tired of secreting that cortisol. It gets tired. That's why it's called fatigue. And it just stops secreting the cortisol. It just gets to the point where it says, I can't do anymore. I mean, think about if you've ever had a job, or I don't know, you had to be getting up early in the morning, I don't know, and you did it for a while. Maybe you did it for 2 months, 3 months, but you started to feel the toll that it was taking on your body. You start to feel tired. It starts to become more and more difficult to carry out the same activity. In the beginning, it was hard, but you were able to do it. But now you're getting to the point where you're feeling like, man, I don't know how much longer that I can go. Well, this is what happens to your adrenal glands as well. They feel that way too. You know what? Man, I don't know how much longer that I can go. And eventually they just conk out. They just are on very, very minimal operation. And so they're not spitting out enough and more sufficient cortisol for you. And when that happens, you will definitely feel tired because, again, the cortisol is what gives you that energy in the first place. And so that's something to kind of check into and think about. What has your stress level been like? Because that definitely can cause you to feel tired all the time and not have that vitality and not have that energy. What about your diet? I'm always going to be coming back to that diet. Is your diet more acidic or is it more alkaline? So just looking at the chart here, we want our blood pH to be, it's supposed to be between 7.3 and 7.4. So it's really more on the alkaline side, right? It's because it's above 7, but it's a little bit above 7. But we don't want it to be way over. We want it to be 7 something, or between 7.3 and 7.4. And because if it starts to be too alkaline, we're getting into the 8s, the 9, the 10. That can be deadly and toxic. But then we don't want it to go below 7 or 7.3 because now we're on the acidic side, and that can also be toxic. Our body is all about balance. It can stretch a little bit from one side to the next, but it cannot go too far off beyond that. So because our blood tends to be, it is considered alkaline, it's going to function better, when that alkalinity is supported. And so the foods that encourage more alkalinity, within our blood is going to be, well, look at that. It's the healthy foods. It's your fruits, your vegetables, your water, sea salt. Now, on the other hand, let's look at those foods that are acidic. Well, look at that. It happens to be all the junk food. Well, it's no wonder our body tends to be more healthier because when eating the alkaline foods, because our blood is alkaline. So we want to watch that when we are more in that alkaline state. That is also going to help us to feel better and to not have that fatigue and that tiredness. Do you have any possible mold inside your house? Mold is interesting because we don't see the immediate or the direct effect of mold. You might walk into a house or a room and you happen to notice a little mold there on the wall, but you just continue, as usual throughout your day. You go into another room or you're in there for a little bit and then you leave, and you may not feel a certain way right away. And because of that, we don't notice and realize how toxic mold can be. But it can be very toxic. I mean, it is not healthy, period. But some people have definitely a more severe reaction to it than others. And sometimes a reaction may be something like flu symptoms or cold symptoms. And we just think that, I'm fighting off a cold. I probably got it at work, or, I was around a bunch of children and they had a cold, and really the issue behind, or the reason behind you having these flu-like symptoms or cold-like symptoms, or you just feeling tired all the time, could be some kind of sensitivity or allergy to mold. So we want to be careful about that. We want to watch out for the mold, and that is another thing that can be contributing to your fatigue, your tiredness, your lack of energy, just being tired all day. But more than anything, the most obvious reason why you might be feeling tired throughout the day is because you are just plainly not getting good sleep. You're not sleeping well throughout the night. You're having a bad sleep. You're not sleeping long enough. You're just not having a good night's rest. I would say that would be the place to start. So let me talk a little bit, or actually I'm going to end here by just identifying what does a lack of sleep look like. How do you know that you haven't really gotten a good night's sleep? Because, let's face it, we go to bed, we do sleep for some hours, several hours, and then we get up and, we might feel a little bit tired. We might be dragging a little bit in the morning. But then after, I don't know, maybe an hour or two goes by, we feel fine. Or after we drink that coffee, we feel fine. So it makes us inclined to believe that we did get enough sleep. Okay, I'm functioning. I was able to do everything I wanted to. A little bit tired, or it took me a little bit extra time to get up to par. But, I got through the day. And so because of that, we are not thinking that our body was lacking sleep. So I'm going to share with you some of these symptoms of that would make it obvious that you are not getting enough sleep. So that would be when you get up in the morning and you feel tired. You should not feel tired at all. The minute you become conscious, 100% conscious again, you should feel ready to go. You should feel ready to go. And if you're not feeling that way, you are not getting enough sleep. Or if you're one of those people that are just dragging yourself in the morning. Or I don't know if you have a child too that, man, they're just dragging, and you're moving in slow motion in the day, in the morning, getting dressed, putting your clothes on, gathering your items. You should not be feeling that way. If you do, you did not get enough sleep. Or if you find that throughout the day, especially in the morning, you are moody, you're irritable, you're anxious, or maybe even feeling depressed. Again, I've heard many people say, don't talk to me until I've had my coffee. They're irritable. They're moody. You should not have to get that cup of coffee or some kind of caffeine to feel better, when you first get up in the mornings. That is not normal. And if you're feeling that way, it could be a sign that you are not getting enough sleep. Or your motivation, do you have low motivation? Even throughout the day, just kind of dragging, I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like doing this paperwork. I know there's going to be times when we don't feel like doing certain things, but usually we can just kind of buckle down and get ourselves to do it. But if you feel like you're just really, really struggling, I just don't feel like doing this. And sometimes it can take a person twice as long. So if it should take them an hour and it's taking them 2 hours or 3 hours because the motivation just isn't there, that can be an indication of not getting enough sleep. Or if you're feeling brain fog, can't concentrate, can't focus, can't get my mind to wrap around it. I'm having to read that same sentence again over and over again. You're having people needing to repeat things to you again. You're just not picking up, you're not grasping. That could be a result of not good sleep at night. Or I mentioned, feeling the need to take a nap in the middle of the day. Or what about if you're struggling to lose weight? Now, there's many reasons why we struggle to lose weight, but one of the definite reasons for struggling to lose weight is because you're not getting enough sleep. It's very interesting. You could be eating right. You could be doing exercise 5 days a week, hardly eating anything. Okay, I just reduced my food intake to 1 meal a day. I'm doing all this exercise and I'm still not gaining the weight. That can be directly related to not getting enough sleep. So I just name some of those things there that you can think about. Think about if that's something that you're experiencing. Some of these things are obvious and some of these things are not. You're thinking, what? Just because I didn't sleep enough, that's causing me to not lose weight? Absolutely, yes. So I'm going to share with you just a couple of things to know what to do to help improve your sleep at night. There's a lot of different things, and depending on who you are or what you're struggling with, those certain things are going to work for you a little bit and other things are going to work for you a lot. And so sometimes you kind of have to do a trial and error. But if it's something that you would like to learn more about, because this is something that you're really, really struggling with, then I would encourage you to go to my website and you can schedule a free consultation with me, or you can put a comment in the chat and just let me know what's going on. I'll also leave my email. You could also send me a private email. But let's go ahead and I'm going to just kind of give you a couple of things right now that you can work on, foundational things that you can work on. One would be, you want to make sure that you are going to bed before 12 midnight. Our body goes through different stages of sleeping. There's something called REM and NREM, and all of that starts around 10 o'clock at night between 2 a.m. So between 10 and 2, that's when your body really functions under, the best sleep, the sleep pattern. And, we're able to pick those specific times there, just after doing the research and the studies. And it's really the same for everyone because we go through a sleep cycle. There's something called the circadian rhythm. And that circadian rhythm is determined by how much light is going through your eyes or going through the retina. So obviously during the daytime, when the sun is out, there's more brightness. So there's going to be brightness and light that goes through your eyes. And at nighttime, it's going to be darker, even though we have lights that we turn on. But at some point, when you first walk into your house, it's dark. It's going to be dark. And, eventually we turn off the lights to sleep. It's dark. So it's like our body knows. It knows when the sun sets and when it comes up, when it goes down. And so there's this window of time between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. where our body is really experiencing that best sleep time, where you're getting a really good night's sleep. So if you are going to bed past that, past the 10, or really 12 is the cutoff, so past 12, then it doesn't matter how many hours of sleep you get for the night, you're just not going to be experiencing that same quality sleep. So you absolutely do not want to be going to bed past 12, but no later than 10 p.m. would be even better. You want to make sure that your room is completely dark, no lights. In this age of electronics that we live in, there's always some kind of light that is just lingering. It could be from our phone, any kind of electronic devices, our laptop, or what do you call the other thing? Not the laptop, but the pad, the iPad, or something like that. Even if you have a night light on, better to put that night light like where the bathroom is or in the hallway, but try not to have it directly inside your bedroom. And you just want to have it completely dark. Some people sleep with the TV on, and I would not recommend that if you want to make sure that you have a good night's sleep. The darker it is, the better it is, and the more your body's encouraged to sleep. That is how your body will start to produce that melatonin, and melatonin is the hormone that helps us sleep. Sometimes people take melatonin supplements because that is the hormone that helps us to sleep. I'm not suggesting you take melatonin. You'd have to talk to your doctor about that. But for sure you want to make sure that it's good and dark. You want to make sure that your last meal is 3 to 4 hours before you are going to bed. All right, so sometimes we eat really late and then we go to sleep. That is going to take away from a good night's sleep because your digestive system is just going to be working. It has to go through this work. And it works very hard. And so it's going to disrupt your body from being able to experience that complete rest, that full, deep rest. And I would also suggest that when you incorporate your exercise routine for the day, or you decide, okay, today's going to be the day I do exercise, I would suggest doing that exercise more at the earlier part of the day and not so late in the day, or, make sure that there's a good amount of hours, a few hours that between when you exercise and when you go to sleep. Because exercise, it encourages energy. It encourages, okay, I'm ready to tackle this day. There is a release in cortisol. Again, that's the cortisol is what gives us that energy to carry us throughout the day. And so it's going to it's going to be harder for you to just relax and settle down and tone down and get into a sleep mindset. And which brings me to my last recommendation is try to get into a little bit of a bedtime routine. So going to bed at the same time every night, perhaps letting there be anywhere from a half hour to an hour of sleep prep time. So that sleep prep can incorporate taking a shower, taking a bath, putting on night clothes, having your bedroom be just your bedroom. Don't let it be your playroom, your office. Keep it separate. So when you enter into your bedroom, your body can interpret, okay, it's time to sleep. I would also recommend reading from a book or something that is tangible, as opposed to reading from an electronic. So whether, they have something like Kindle, you don't want to read from your computer. You also don't want to be scrolling on the whatever social medias, because you want to discourage the light that comes from our electronics, because it's a blue light that's radiated, and that is the light that tells your mind, your brain that, oh, it's daytime, okay, we're supposed to stay awake, and it's going to make it harder for you to fall asleep. So it's better to just use a low light, a lamp that's close to you, and just have a book or magazine or something physical, and you can read from that. This is just ideas of a bedtime routine, maybe listening to something. You don't even have to read. They have an app called Audible. You could also access that online. But anyway, it allows you to get books and listen to these books being played. So instead of reading it, you listen to it. What's nice about Audible is you can actually set it so that it goes off, within a certain time. I've done that before. I'll set it for like 15 minutes or something like that. So in case I fall asleep before it goes off, it'll turn off. You don't want to have something where it just stays on and stays on, because even though you fall asleep, because it's staying on, it can very well wake you up afterwards. So that's what I really like about Audible, or anything that you have like that where you can set it where it can turn off. So yeah, just getting into some kind of a nighttime routine, that can be very helpful. Okay, so again, I would like to remind you that the Abundant Wellness meets every second and fourth Saturday at the month at 3 p.m. I would like to, so this concludes our talk for today. Today's the second Saturday of the month. We'll be meeting again in a couple of weeks, almost the end of July. And man, this summer is just flying right by, isn't it? And before you know it, it's going to be time for school. But this is going to be the first time I won't have to worry about getting kids ready for school, because my last out of 4 has graduated. So Yeah, we meet the second and fourth Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time or Texas time. And again, if you would like to learn more about what I do, I would invite you to visit my website. If you'd like to sit with me, chat with me, you are welcome for a consultation that is 100% free. You don't have to pay for it at all. You have some questions, maybe some of the things that I've just mentioned, or maybe some things that you've been struggling with. Or you can send me an email, private email, to Joanne at journeytoabundantwellness.com, where you have an opportunity to just express, what's going on with you. I do offer some free workshops, which I will be posting and letting you know about when those take place and what those are about. But again, to get more information on that, you can visit my website or shoot me a question. Well, thanks for visiting me, joining me, and I wish you the rest of a good Saturday afternoon. Enjoy the summer weather because the cold weather is going to come back soon, and enjoy this summer break.